The Prime Resurgence is a place for new players to get older items, but what can those items do exactly? Today we're gonna be looking at Atlas Prime, the one and only, the one that punches. Let's jump in and take a look at him. This is One Punch Man. And I mean, Atlas, of course. We're gonna be looking at his abilities real quick, his stats, what he does, and what makes him different from other exalted melee frames, because that is what he is. This man is once again another exalted melee frame, but in his own way. And I quickly would like to talk about that, why you would choose Atlas over something like Valkyr or something like Excalibur. First of all, health stat, shield stat, armor stat are all pretty high, funnily enough. This guy's got some good base stats, which if you're not level capping can get you very far. And the energy pool, pretty high as you can see. If you end over 600, you're on the higher part of the energy pools with Prime Flow, which also means, as you can see already, he likes melee crit charge, but we'll get to that later. Quickly, his passive, as long as both his feet are on the ground, he has a built-in Prime Sure-Footed. On most of my builds, you will still see me use it, because I am someone who likes to pull and jump around, then the passive is not active. But if you're just running around on the floor, actually don't need Prime Sure-Footed, you don't need handspring if you don't have Prime Sure-Footed. He's got it built in. Now we get to the funniest ability, also the most confusing one, and that's Landslide. Landslide is his exalted weapon. It's a punch, as you can see in the animation. A punch that we can mod. Landslide Fist. The range, 4 meters, whatever. Combo duration is normal. Fits is very high. Crit damage looks high because I have the purple shards active. I didn't want to take them off, I'm sorry. But still, his base value is very, very high because this is all he does. His actual base crit damage is 2x only. This is the result of purple shards and a companion. His status chance is very low. IPS, he only has impact. We're gonna ignore that this exists. No one cares for impact. Fun fact, impact opens up for mercy kill, but because this is an exalted weapon that he uses by casting, he actually can even use finisher mods. So why impact? I don't know. I don't agree. We're not gonna use it. Coming back to that range. The 4 meter range you saw was for the first punch. This is not, I repeat, this is not for the lock on range, for the cast. The range you see over here and the range you can mod for with range mods is for the explosion radius when you cast Landslide. So when you hit an enemy, there's an explosion, which is pretty cool, by the way. There's a pretty big explosion. As you can see, it grows with combo or with punch combo, which you can mod for. So with a stretch, you see the range stats are green because they increase. And yes, technically we have now increased the range of Landslide, but this is not the lock-on range. The lock-on range will always be the same, which is also why we're not gonna use a lot of range. There's a few options that I will show later on. You need to know that the target acquisition is 12 meters at all times, which actually scales with your level. So also the ability level, which starts at 6 and then 8 and 10 and 12 at rank 30 of the frame. Okay, I think we have now covered everything about Landslide, and the rest will come later on when we start building. But once again, range does not influence the target acquisition range. Want to clear that up. His second ability, Tectonics, it does exactly what it shows. It makes a wall, and then the wall becomes a rock, and then the rock starts rolling, which is whatever. This ability kind of exists to be subsumed over. In general, I don't think it has a lot of use. We are gonna subsume over it, but just wanted to show you that it is here and it exists. It does do petrifying a little bit, but it doesn't do much. Now we're getting to the important ability, his third, Petrify. Petrify, it heals your rumblers, which is your 4. It restores per petrified enemy you kill 50 health and 50 bonus armor, which is all fun and games. We're not going to build around his health. Most importantly, what this does is it gives enemies damage. And damage vulnerability does not scale with strength, which is very sad. But 50% is very high. What that technically means, it doubles your damage. This ability is the reason we'll most likely mod for a little bit of range, just to widen the angle of enemies you can hit and the range. Petrify, you can want to use this for either crowd control to turn enemies into stone, which as normal control abilities work, does not apply to Eximus, but it does apply the 50% vulnerability, just with acolytes. Even if they're not turned into stone, they still gain the vulnerability if the effect has played onto them, even though they don't stand still. So yes, Petrify, damage vulnerability, very good. Final ability is Rumblers. He creates funny buddies. Funny buddies deal decent damage. You don't need to know a lot about them. Most importantly, these guys leave rubble behind, and rubble is kind of his second passive, I would say. And the rubble is going to be important to keep up later on for landslide. And later on is actually going to be right now, because we've had all those abilities. Now I instantly want to talk about some augments. Rubble heap, passive augment. When above 1400 rubble, which is almost maxed by the way, this is where you deal 2 times damage and travel 2 times faster, and landslide costs no energy. So this is how you can keep up your landslide forever, basically. You petrify, you landslide. You petrify, you landslide. Your rumblers fall over because the timer ran out or they got killed. It's gonna be rubble on the ground. You can pick that up and keep that second passive active. So rubble heap is something I like a lot. I would suggest using it. We'll look at that later. Then Orgaze. Orgaze is an augment that makes him a farm frame. He creates bonus drop chance. Fun fact, this does stack with either Hydroid or Korra because it's a different drop table, and it also stacks with Necros because it's a different drop table. And Petrify is the subsume from Atlas, so you can technically bring that onto a Hydroid for more drops. Keep in mind though, you need 400% strength to get 100% drop chance. It's not great, it exists, but a lot of people don't even know this exists, and it's kind of funny. So then we're just gonna skip over a few. These are all like decent augments that are quality of life augments, which is what in my opinion a normal augment does. Like this create a single rubbler, and you know, it's tankier, it's funny. This creates more walls. We just looked at that. This one makes them leave a trail of, I think, rubble technically, that petrifies them, so more damage vulnerability. It's kind of good. If we have the mod space for it, we'll use it. It's just another quality of life. But there's one more augment that completely changes the way you play Atlas, and that is what I first wanted to take some time to talk about, which is Rumbled. With Rumbled, you can use the 4th ability to turn into a Rumbler yourself, which means you do not spawn 2 clones anymore, and you become the Rumbler. It creates Overguard. The Overguard you gain from that is basically your duration. There is a duration tab for it. It's the normal duration, a base 45 seconds. But if you lose your Overguard, you lose the ability. That being said, I have done some testing. This ability has a few very funny interactions, because in this ability you throw rocks. With the Rumbled augment, you turn into a Rumbler yourself, which means if I use my 4, you can see I am now made of stone and I throw rocks. It's very hard to see because my model is kind of in the way. But you just use the shoot button for it. Normally you hold a gun. You can't hold a gun right now, and your left mouse or R2, I think, is now throwing rocks. All the interactions I have seen. The rocks can headshot. The Overguard can trigger Arcane Truculence. It doesn't count as a weapon, so you can go invisible with her as Cobro. And it's projectile based. It has multiplicative condition overload. Also, let me show again the Overguard. It's very minimal. 1950 unmodded, which is fun and all. But in most steel buff missions, you will lose this in 2 seconds, which means you lose the ability instantly. Doesn't matter how long you've modded your duration for, you instantly lose the ability. This augment exists. It's kind of a troll augment. I actually made a build for it with Vial Rush, because you cannot jump, you cannot bullet jump. You're stuck to the ground, so this is how I got my speed. As you can see, I went Crepuscular because it can crit, it can headshot. Technically, you can go evade. And last but not least, the rocks do trigger with whatever mods you have. So I made a melee vortex build. I'm quickly breezing through this, by the way, because you guys just need to know this can be done. It's not trick. But yeah, I made a melee vortex build to group up with rocks and then kill them with the gas procs afterwards. And it's a weird one. It's a very weird one. So let me just quickly show you what I did with my Rumbled Atlas. This is my Atlas build. Fury for melee damage. Then just basic mods, a little bit of duration. Maybe I should do a little bit more strength for this, you know. But you know what, let's do it. A little bit more strength. There we go. Now I have a higher damage absorption. Let me show the fist again. These are my fists. So I get base damage from Arcane Fury and Condition Overload, because Condition Overload is multiplicative to this weapon. There is a combo, so I have Blood Rage, Weeping Wounds, Galvamentalist, Gal Steel, all your normal stuff. Because of the insanely high base crit chance, I will red crit anyway. Make sure I turn invisible. I am invisible. And you don't have a reticle, which I don't know why. Look, it groups up with Vortex. There we go. You can see the combo in the middle. It's slowly building up. And there we go, red crits. So, yes, it does damage, but it's not great. It's just very funny. Oh, 11 mil. Yeah, no, it is very funny. That's because of Condition Overload, by the way. This is what multiplicative Condition Overload scaling does to your damage. You go from a few 100,000 to millions. So yeah, this build exists. I have shown you it very quickly, but please don't bank too much on it. Because hot diggity damn, you lose it quickly. That's also why I specifically went invis, so I lose my overcut less. But any DOT that's lingering around, or any Xmas that accidentally hits you, any radiation proc, and you're done for. So yeah, that's the end of Atlas. Now we have spoken about that, let's get to the important part, which is building for Landslide. Landslide is stupidly strong. I need you to know that. This ability is actually crazy. Once again, we have looked at the base stats, 35 base crit. So we're just using Blood Rush, Galvanized Steel, but I have a lot of Gladiator mods, as you can see, because there's not much else I need. Look what these Gladiator mods do to me. So I have 35 base crit, that's base, and then I add Blood Rush, which is 4.4, Galvanized Steel, that is 1.1, and 3 Gladiator mods, which means 3.3. My final crit chance is 343%. That is insane, which is also why I've invested so much into crit damage. With Galvanized Steel being 120% after as well, Organ Shatter, Gladiator Might, 4 Tau Purples. Landslide Fist is insanely strong. So to talk about the rest real quick, I just have normal pressure point. I don't like having to prime with condition overload. Yes, it's technically better. I just want to punch. Okay, I don't use a lot of conditional buffs. I just want to punch. If you like using conditional buffs, you want to build around that. Condition overload is better. For me, I'm going for the stable damage, which is primed PP. Then just to add more damage, I have primed Fever Strike and Northwind. We're not really using viral for viral. We're just using these to gain very high damage. That's also why it's not a 60-60 mod. I don't care for the status. This is pure raw damage. We're not trying to proc a status effect. There is no Weeping Wounds. There is no Galvanized Elementalist. This is just raw high damage. Because of that, we have these crit damage mods. And I have Gladiator Rush here for just the crit chance bonus from the set mod. If you're someone that likes using smite mods, replace this with a smite mod and change it around perfection. I kind of stopped doing that at some point. I just lost the interest into it because it doesn't really matter. Keep in mind that range modding, once again, is the explosion radius, and attack speed modding you can't do because this guy's kills off casting speed instead of attack speed. As you can see, Primed Fury is literally not available because he doesn't use attack speed. They got rid of those mods if you can't use it, which kind of nice. It doesn't get people confused. So yeah, we just built a lot of raw damage. We built high crits and nothing else. As Arcane, there's technically 2 you can use. Melee Green and Melee Exposure. Exposure is just better because you don't have to roll to trigger it. Every time you cast Landslide, this will stack up, which means you will basically always be at 240%. I don't think there is a better option than this. Yes, Kareen is technically more damage, but Exposure is always active. And I like it when someone's always active. Besides that, Dottie, we don't have Puncture. Duplicate, we have too much crit. Afflictions, we one-shot enemies. Why would I want to wait for the DOTs? You know, maybe the armor, but we're gonna shield tank, as you will see. Influence, no thank you. Because I want enemies to be close by so I can lock onto them for the next target. Because next order of business, we'll skip the arcanes. You know enough. Every time you cast Landslide, you will get iframes, invincibility frames, which is why I went perfectly 100 range. I didn't go negative, I didn't go positive, because I want an enemy to be close by enough for me to cast Landslide again, so I can keep my iframes up. Also, let me do this, so y'all are not confused. To keep the iframes up, you just want to keep casting this, which is also why we are using Rubble Heap to make it free. Yes, we cannot trigger Brief Respite if it's free. If you are able to get to 1400 rubble, that means we are able to keep casting a Landslide, which means we can abuse the iframes combined with Arcane Aegis. To get to that point, we are using Brief Respite with Arcane Aegis. Brief Respite on ability cost, you convert energy into shields. We all know how it works. We're mainly going to use Petrify to trigger Brief Respite, because Petrify is a nice and quick cast, and it's a form of crowd control, so you have time to start recharging your shields after they have been created by Brief Respite. It's a nice combination that works well together. Besides that, we have some strength. You can go way less strength, by the way. This is not even needed. Maybe I will get rid of it. Strength does up the base damage a little bit, but I'm gonna be honest, let's just change it right now so you guys know why I'm doing things the way I'm doing it. Did a quick fiddling around. Also, this instantly made me think. This is funny about doing these videos. They instantly make me think of why I'm doing things the way I'm doing it. And then I start explaining. I'm like, I overdid it here. It's very free, which is the important part of telling. I just ended on expertise and a little bit of more duration for Lycus Hunt, which is a subsume of choice. We'll get to that soon. Expertise, it's not a lot of shields, but we're trying to live with our shields up, so it's nice to have. And then Arga Message, just a little bit more duration. They're both very free slots. I would would dare to say I go barrier for more shield regening. You can go arcane circumvent if you want the safety net for that. But you could also say, oh, I'm going Commissado to let the rumblers hit some enemies and give me more strength. And there's so many funny ways of doing it. You can go crepuscular with Hurricane. You can go arcane avenger for more crits because you will get hit anyway somewhere in between. Energize if you're scared of running out of energy, which is also not a bad choice. There are so many free choices in here. Try some things out. As long as you have ages in there, your survivability should be fine. Besides that, go with whatever your gut tells you to, or whatever you like using in your playstyle. I am someone who enjoys shield regen, so I will fall back onto ages expertise a lot. Expertise to me is a beautiful addition. Also persistence. But expertise, yeah, I will use this because I like shield regening. If you have an arcane that you like a lot, that you use a lot, that you're used to playing around as well, smack it on. This slot is insanely free. Back to the mods. Start off, energy. We just want more energy. Also, so we are over 500 energy for the crit damage shards. Equilibrium is my form of energy sustain. I like this. We're combining this with the subsume of Lycan's Hunt. Every melee kill will drop an health orb. Every health orb is becoming energy with equilibrium. And this kind of just circles back indefinitely. Also, this doesn't scale with anything but duration, so it's kind of nice to slot in there without having to mod for very specific stats that you otherwise wouldn't need. Speaking of stats you wouldn't need, look at these stats. We're barely modding for anything. I have some strength in there because I can. I had this Umbral Forma on it, so I went Umbral Intensify. You could technically go without the strength. Then I would have used another Gladiator mod for more crit chance because that's funny. It's all kind of free on this guy. The augments, in my opinion, are important. This makes it free. This is more rubble. Then I have a little bit of duration. I have crit chance here, which also gives me health. His damage is all within modding your Landslide Fist, which is why I built Atlas specifically for just surviving, which is also an important part if you want to do Steel Path or even Lava Cap. My builds are always based around Lava Caps, which is where I've used them and tested them. This is about all I can say about him. His mods are very simple. I may not have talked about every mod specifically, but like I said, he doesn't need much. Make him comfortable to survive with. That is his main goal, and make Landslide the damage part of his kit. And if you look at it like that, he should be very easy to be built. I will show you once in a mission what I did. Also, companion, like I said, it's kind of free. I went Neramon for the combo. You don't really need it, but it's nice to have. To actually show him in effectiveness, I will not do that in a Simulacrum, but I will go to a Steel Path survival mission, because these enemies will die too quick in Simulacrum. So, we're here in a mission. I don't even remember. Oh yeah, the Huraska bro, and I am on Neramon. Mr. One Punch Man is ready for it. So all his weapons don't matter. Every build I will show you is completely self-sufficient, and with Atlas that's the exact same. And now we just start punching. You can see it's very nice to have enemies close by with the low explosion radius. There we go. That's the damage. 4 mil. 5 mil. And now we get to like, this is his normal rotation. You see my energy is always up because of Lycan's Hunt. It's very nice to use. But now we get to the funny part. What if we use Petrify? 8 mil. 6 mil. And because of the Petrifying Thrill, the 2 summons are also doing this for you. This is also why we have a little more duration. The summons also benefit from that. The summons are also the reason you could want to build some strength, but the higher you go into Steel Path, the quicker they die anyway. So it's up to you to how far you want to scale it. I would say don't invest too much into it, because it's gonna fall off very quickly. You can see the 12 meters, by the way, is further than you think. This is also why it's actually maybe good to go negative range. I just like having my third ability petrified to be able to hit a lot of enemies, because it only has a base range of 14 meters, I'm pretty sure. But this is Atlas, Mr. One Punch Man. I'm hoping to show you guys an Acolyte. It's funny how this guy is so strong that I need to show it in a survival mission. So you can see my rumblers are actually still active right now. They haven't died yet, even though the timer is over. But yeah, time is over and they fall down. Also, bottom right, you can see my rumbolt. The rumbolt for the augment, you can see bottom right, it is at 1500 right now. It drains pretty quickly. Casting Petrified and grabbing that up from the ground. The little rocks, if you walk through it. You can see it in here as well, the trail. This will give you new robot stacks. Like I said, they drop pretty quickly, but if you use the augment for the 4, it's pretty easy to keep them up, and petrified enemies also drop it. It just makes it so you get the insanely quick casting animation, and you can kill more enemies per minute, more damage, more red explosions. And it just... this guy. You can now also see, when casting Landslide, you will get the iframes. You can see that now top right. Every time I cast it, my health and shield goes grey. This is his way of surviving. You just want to keep punching, and that is actually how he survives. Here is Mania. Let me show you how we deal with a Mania. This is why I run this skin. You like anime, Atlas, melee frames, or good fashion, please try Atlas. I've tried to give you all the information about him. I've tried to show you how I built this guy. I don't think there's more to say about him besides he rocks and he punches. He is freaking awesome. I hope you liked our lovely Atlas. This is all the information I can give you about him. This is all you need to know about him. Please try him out. He's currently in the Resurgence. Go punch some people, send them to the moon, and I will catch you all on the next one. Goodbye.